Monday morning, office still half dark, heating barely kicked in. I was in early, like always, burnt coffee in hand, clicking through the weekly reports nobody ever thanked me for. Then it hit. An all-staff email from Kyle in HR. No subject line, just a spreadsheet attachment. I almost didn't open it. Figured it was some HR seminar invite or wellness crap. But I clicked. Curiosity, boredom, habit. 3 seconds later, my mouth went dry. It was a compensation report, full salary list, meant for executives. Accidentally blasted to the entire company. First tab, C-suite. I kept scrolling. Second tab, directors. Third tab, everyone else. And there I was. Line 118, third tab. Bottom half of the sheet like a damn footnote. Aaron Whitman, senior financial analyst. $101,200. I felt my fingers go cold. Then I started scanning the other names. Guys I'd trained. Mason James brought him in 2 years ago. I had to explain to him why we closed books on the 5th. He was making $139,000. Tristan Fields couldn't tell you the difference between net and gross income if his life depended on it. $144,000. I checked it twice. It was right there. I'd been here 11 years, trained half these guys, built most of the systems they used, and I was pulling 30 to 40% less than every single one of them. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. At 8:12 a.m., 3 minutes after that bomb dropped, Kyle tried to recall the email. Too late. I'd already saved it to my desktop, personal drive, and work flash drive. Didn't hesitate. Didn't even finish my coffee. I shut my laptop and marched straight to my boss's office. No knocking. Greg looked up, annoyed. Something wrong? I dropped the printed sheet on his desk. You tell me. He barely glanced at it. That wasn't meant for you. I figured. What I didn't figure, I said, was why Mason James is making 39 grand more than me. He leaned back, gave me the company line. Market changed. New hires get different rates. You got your 3% bump this year. Yeah, that was $2,900. You think that matches what I'm worth? He shrugged. Take it or leave it. I just stared at him. I didn't yell. Didn't throw the chair across the room like I wanted to. I said, calm as hell. Then I'll need to formally request a full compensation review. Greg didn't flinch. It'll be denied. That's when I knew this place was never going to pay what I was worth. And something had to change. I left Greg's office without another word. Didn't even log back in. Just grabbed my keys and drove home. Didn't turn on music. Didn't check my phone. I had nothing left to say. Not yet. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a warm Coors and a cold mind. Name's Aaron Whitman. I'm 41. Live in Tempe, Arizona. Quiet guy. Not flashy. Never needed a spotlight. I just did my job. And more. The more is what I started pulling together. Laptop open, thumb drive in. I went deep. Old folders, archived audits, internal dashboards. I dragged everything onto the desktop. Projects, emails, workflows, budget drafts, payroll fixes. Every system I touched in the last 11 years. Line by line, I listed what I'd built. Our entire budgeting platform, that was me. Wrote the framework on a flight to Omaha. The year we almost got penalized 6 figures for payroll misclassification, I caught it, cleaned it, saved their asses. 2 separate IRS reviews came back spotless. I led both. Not one exec sat in those meetings. I did. I documented it all. Each bullet point like a line in an autopsy report. Except it wasn't just my job they had killed. It was my value. Midnight turned into 1. 1 into 3. I didn't even notice the time until my back started to ache. 58 pages, indexed, cited, timeline ordered. I gave it a title, Return on Investment, the real cost of undervaluing institutional knowledge. I sat back and cracked another beer, eyes locked on the screen. Then I added the math. Last year alone, my system saved the company over $312,000 in labor hours, compliance penalties, audit prep, and vendor cost reduction. I triple-checked it. Conservative estimate. What they saved by underpaying me? 40 grand. I leaned back in my chair. Let that number sit there and rot. The next morning, still hadn't slept. I grabbed a hoodie and drove to a 24-hour print place over on Guadalupe. Back home, I showered, shaved, and dug out the only sport coat I owned. Dark blue, still smelled like the scotch from my brother's wedding. Didn't care. I didn't wear it to blend in. I wore it so nobody could say they didn't see me. Straightened the collar, grabbed the report, slid it into a matte black folder with no logo. Clean, simple, sharp. Then I looked in the mirror. No speech, no pep talk, just a nod. Like a man clocking in for a job he knew damn well how to do. They thought I'd just take it, that I'd sit quietly and move on. Nah, today wasn't about humility. It was about numbers, and mine were finally going to be read. I got to the office before sunrise. Place was dead quiet. Motion lights flickered on as I walked past the empty cubicles. No one saw me head to the top floor. CEO David Keller's door was cracked. I didn't knock, just walked in, set 3 things on the middle of his spotless walnut desk, and left. 1, my letter of resignation. 2, a printed offer from Forge West. Starting salary, $149,500, full benefits, signing bonus, equity options. 3, my black leather-bound, gold-lettered value report. 58 pages of truth they didn't want to read. The Forge West offer had already been lined up weeks earlier. Catherine Stone knew what I was uncovering, and she wasn't waiting for me to prove it twice. I didn't wait for a reaction, just turned and walked out. Back at my desk, I logged in like it was any other Tuesday, checked emails, updated a spreadsheet, ate a banana. At 9:40 sharp, my desk phone rang. "Aaron," Kyle's voice cracked a little. "Could you come to David's office, please?" I stood, grabbed my notebook, and took my time getting there. Inside, it was full committee. David at the head. Greg, my boss. In the corner, arms crossed like a kid caught shoplifting. Kyle from HR, pale as drywall. And Marissa Torres, COO, sharp suit, hair tight, eyes sharp. The report sat open on the table. Tabs flagged, notes scribbled. They'd read it. David tried to lead. "Aaron, first of all, thank you for the thorough documentation. It's, impressive I didn't sit." Kyle looked like he was holding his breath. Greg finally opened his mouth. "You could have come to me first." Given me time to work something out, I looked straight at him. "I gave you 11 years. He looked away. Marissa leaned forward. "We don't want to lose you. What would it take for you to stay?" No hesitation. Base salary, $155. Bonus, $40,000, retroactive. And I want a formal audit of pay equity across the company. Kyle actually gasped, loud. Greg shifted in his chair, hands twitching. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. David leaned back. "That's a significant ask." "It's not an ask," I said. "It's the cost of keeping someone who's already done the work you pay others 40% more to pretend to understand." Silence. Marissa nodded slowly, then looked at David. David tapped his pen twice, stared at the report, then back at me. "Give us 24 hours. I shook my head. "You've got 12. Then I reached into my folder and placed one last document on the table. "Transition plan," I said. "If I walk, this covers everything I touch. Clean handoff, no loose ends." David stared at it. No one else moved. I turned, walked out, and didn't look back. Sat down at my desk and got back to work like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just flipped their whole damn game on its head. I sat at my desk answering emails like nothing was happening, but inside, I was already 3 moves ahead. What they didn't know, what none of them had even sniffed out, was that I'd been tracking something way bigger than my paycheck. It started 18 months back. I was cleaning up end-of-quarter entries when I spotted it. $14,200. Vague consulting line item. Vendor I'd never seen before. Stonemark Solutions. Sounded made up. I flagged it, sent a note. Greg replied 2 hours later. "Exec level approved. No action needed." That could have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Month after month, I saw it again. Different names, always neat round numbers, always vague. Some had P.O. boxes for addresses, others, no address at all. So I started logging them. Quiet, precise, fake vendors, No EIN's duplicate invoice numbers. All slipped in just under the approval threshold that triggers audit flags. I cross-checked accounts payable, pulled vendor registrations, even mapped IPS where the invoices were uploaded. One came from an apartment complex Wi-Fi in Tucson. By the end of the year, the total was sitting at over $2.9 million, and every dollar of it went to ghost companies. I never said a word. I just kept tracking. And here's the kicker. Catherine Stone, the CFO over at Forge West, she used to be here, left 4 years ago under creative differences. I didn't ask back then, but now I knew. She'd seen it starting. She just couldn't prove it. But I could. That's why she reached out in the first place. That's why she gave me the offer with no interview, no hesitation. I met her for lunch 2 weeks ago. Neutral spot, tiny Vietnamese place halfway between our offices. I handed her a USB stick. No small talk. Just said, "This is what you suspected." Now it's confirmed. She looked me dead in the eye. "We can go scorched earth right now?" I shook my head. "Let them fix it first. Give them the chance to do it right." She nodded once. 12 days. After that, it goes wide 12 days. That clock was already ticking, so when I dropped that resignation on David's desk, the salary numbers weren't the only pressure they were feeling. They were already standing on a rotting floor. They just didn't know it yet. And the second they tried to lowball, bluff, or stonewall me, that's when the whole damn thing would crack open. Because I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't asking anymore. I was giving them a chance. The last one they were going to get. By 9 a.m. sharp, I was back in the conference room. Same stale coffee smell. Same fake air of control. But this time, they brought backup. David was at the head again, still trying to look in charge. Greg sat next to him, pretending to take notes. Kyle looked like he hadn't slept. Marissa was unreadable as ever. And now there was a new face, Gregor Vaughn, company counsel. No relation to Greg, my boss. Navy suit, tight smile, eyes scanning everything. David cleared his throat. "Aaron, we've reviewed your proposal." He slid a folder across the table. "We'd like to offer you a revised package." I opened it. Salary, $155. Bonus, $45, retroactive. New title, Director of Financial Systems and Compliance. They wanted to lock it in, wrap this up clean. I nodded once. "Looks fine. Let's talk about the fine print." Gregor leaned in. Standard NDA, covering confidentiality on compensation structure and any irregularities observed during your employment. That last part landed heavy. I kept my face still. "I'll review it with my own legal before I sign anything." Gregor smiled like he expected that. "Of course." Then I set my pen down, looked at David. "One more thing," I said. "I want written confirmation that a company-wide pay equity audit begins within 30 days. Kyle coughed. Greg shifted in his seat. Marissa blinked just once. David hesitated. "That's a pretty large initiative." I didn't blink. "Not as large as the lawsuits you'll get if you don't." Silence. Gregor tapped his pen. "Define audit. Internal or third party. Doesn't matter to me. But it's got to be real, not a checklist. And I want written notice when it starts." David looked at Marissa. She gave him a tiny nod. He sighed. "All right, we can include that." "In writing good," I said. They all started to relax. Thought that was it. Thought I came in for money and a title. They didn't realize they'd just agreed to open the first door I needed them to. Gregor pushed the NDA toward me. "Take a day or two. Let us know I stood. You'll hear back within 48 hours. David extended a hand. I didn't take it, just gathered the folder and left. I walked down the hall slow, steady. Past the break room. Past Mason James, who gave me a weird nod, like he'd heard something. I gave nothing back, just walked out. They thought it was over. It wasn't. 2 weeks later, last official day. I came in calm, clean cut, no folder this time, just a flat black briefcase. I wasn't even supposed to be there. But they'd scheduled one more meeting. Same conference room, but this time the stakes were stacked. Full board attendance, legal team, Marissa, Greg, Kyle, David, and on the big screen at the end of the table, Chairwoman Lisa Randall calling in from Chicago. David stood. Thanks for making time, everyone. Before we close out Aaron's transition, he's asked to share one last report. I stepped up without a smile. Appreciate you all being here, I said. Won't waste your time. I reached into the case and started passing out copies. Title page in bold, systemic embezzlement pattern. 3-year review, chairs shifted, pages turned. I watched expressions change like a storm moving across a field. Over the last 3 years, I said, 28 payments, totaling just under $2.9 million, have been routed through shell vendors with no verifiable operations. I flipped my own copy. 3 fake companies, Stonemark Solutions, Jasper Ridge Analytics, and Northvine, all unregistered, all billed for consulting services. None with traceable employees. I clicked the remote. Slide on the screen showed a holding firm registered in Nevada. All 3 lead back to one entity, W. Corbin Holdings, LLC. Lisa leaned closer to her camera. What does that mean exactly? I turned another page. It means every dollar landed in a company owned by Greg Vaughn's brother-in-law. Gregor didn't say a word. I kept going. The same Greg Vaughn who drafted the NDA I was handed 2 weeks ago, with a clause shielding irregularities. I slid another page across the table toward David. On file, Vaughn's signature on the original LLC paperwork. Matched to his marriage license from Phoenix County, Greg went pale. David looked like he'd aged 10 years and 10 minutes. Lisa finally spoke. Why didn't you report this sooner? I didn't blink. I did. 18 months ago. Flagged the first payment to Greg. He told me it was exec approved and not to worry about it. Lisa looked down. And you just kept tracking? Quietly, I said. Yes. Greg suddenly stood. I need to step out. David's voice cracked. Sit down. The air in the room dropped 10 degrees. 2 lawyers at the far end started making calls. Get it, Marissa whispered. Now. I stepped back from the table, watched them scramble. It walked in 12 minutes later and pulled Vaughn's access. Badge, phone, everything. He didn't argue, didn't say a word, just stared at the floor as they walked him out. HR brought in 2 staffers from accounting, names I'd seen on the payment chains. They didn't even make it past lunch before both were suspended. By 4 p.m., the audit team was called in from corporate. By 6, Greg's role was officially under review. I just stood by the window, watching the sun set behind the parking lot. The same window I'd stared out of during 11 years of being overlooked. Now, they were the ones waiting for answers. The company didn't collapse, but it bled. Vaughn was indicted 6 weeks after that board meeting. Mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, the whole stack. 2 staffers from accounting were charged as accomplices. Greg got to keep his job, technically, but his new title was Documentation Liaison. No direct reports, no team. His desk got moved outside the IT closet, next to the copier that jams every other hour. Marissa resigned the following month. Personal opportunity was the press release line. Nobody asked questions. David held on for a year, limping through quarterly reviews and fake smiles at company lunches. Then one morning, the shareholders transitioned him out, golden parachute and all. He didn't say goodbye. Forge West? We tripled client volume in 8 months. Catherine gave me full reign. I built every financial system from the ground up. Bulletproof, audited, airtight. No room for shadow spending. No room for excuses. And we went fully transparent. Salary tiers, bonus structures, performance metrics, all posted internally. You could be an intern or a VP and still see exactly how the comp structure worked. Every quarter, I reviewed it myself. Not because I had to, because it mattered. 1 year after I left, I got a message. Unknown number, 1 line. I heard what really happened. Respect didn't need a name. I knew the tone. I never replied. Didn't need to. Garrett, one of the old junior analysts, called me a month later. I let it ring. He was probably trying to understand the mess I left behind. But that knowledge, it walked out the door with me. On my first day at Forge, Catherine raised a glass in my direction. To men who don't just take it anymore. I clinked mine and said, to knowing when to stay quiet and when to flip the damn table. Because this was never about revenge. It was about recognition, about value, About not being the guy who just does his job and gets walked over for it, while everyone else cashes checks and shrugs.